my pleasure to welcome you today to a discussion of the federal legal challenge to the Miami-Dade College giveaway of land for the purpose of building a prospective Trump presidential library. With me today are two distinguished guests, Professor Marvin Dunn, Professor Emeritus of Psychology at FIU. He is, and I'm going to run out of fingers here as I count up the accomplishment, a Navy veteran, a noted historian, prolific author, film producer, former mayoral candidate, and activist. Born into a family that moved with the crops, he remains a cultivator and a harvester in both the literal and the figurative sense. His Teach the Truth garden in Overtown feeds the surrounding community and nourishes its historical and cultural roots. His Teach the Truth tours to sites key to African American history sow the seeds of understanding. Professor Dunn's latest contribution, however, and the reason why we are here today, is his legal fight to stop the Miami-Dade College land giveaway for the purpose of building that future Trump library. Also with us today, my pleasure to welcome Mr. Shane Granum from Miami's distinguished law firm Gelber, Schachter, and Greenberg, PA, which is representing Professor Dunn and other plaintiffs in a new federal lawsuit. A South Florida native and Brown University and Columbia Law graduate, he is a member of the bar in both Florida and the District of Columbia, and an experienced litigator across a broad range of legal disciplines. At Columbia, he served as the president of the American Constitution Society, and it is on constitutional grounds that his firm is pursuing the current legal challenge to the land giveaway. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So my first question is going to go to Professor Dunn. There was a great outcry when it was learned very shortly after the fact, not in advance, of the decision by the trustees of Miami-Dade College to donate prime land in the heart of downtown Miami, very valuable land, meant for future student use. And this donation was to the state of Florida. Yes. And the state, in turn, had decided to give this land in the form of a donation for the purpose of building a prospective Trump presidential library. Mm-hmm. So there were plenty of people who were shocked, who were outraged. You were the one who took action. And so walk us through those initial days, why you felt so compelled to act, that you even leveraged your home as bond to file the suit.
Well, it didn't come to leveraging my home. I was able to get to friends to donate, so I was able to borrow the money to actually put down the $150,000 bond that was required. I heard about this takeover, prospective takeover, from a friend of mine. Had no idea that this was about to happen. And when I fully got to the understanding that the Board of Trustees of Miami-Dade College was going to give that land away, at first I was shocked, then outraged, and then saddened, in that order. Shocked that this could happen, outraged that this land was going to be taken away from our kids, and then sad because how could it have come to this? in American politics, where the president of the United States could be given land worth millions of dollars by a state. That's not constitutional. And that's one reason why I entered into this contest, to see if we could stop it. Outrage, sadness, unbelievable concern about our political process that would allow this to have happened to this point. So I am proud to have the support of excellent lawyers, pro bono, in our effort to stop this. Initially, we got a judge to issue an injunction to stop them from giving the land away. So that was a plus. But the court ordered them to have another hearing, and they did that. The Board of Trustees did that, and it met the requirements of the state, of the law, so that the Sunshine Law was no longer an issue. So the land was actually given to the library by the state of Florida. And once that happened, I and some other plaintiffs joined together, found new lawyers, and filed a lawsuit about 2 or 3 weeks ago in federal court, charging the president with violating the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution. And I'll let the lawyers speak for it, but my simple understanding of that part of the Constitution is that the president may not receive any income at all except his or her salary. That's it. Anything else is not legal. So no foreign state can give the president any gifts, and no domestic state can give the president any gifts. And that's what happened here. So I think they're in trouble. But I'll leave it to the lawyer to tell us whether or not I'm right about that.
So you've done an excellent job of explaining the prior case, and that has been resolved. So this is a completely new case, as we said, on constitutional grounds. I think many of us who were in high school civics classes remember the phrase emoluments clause, and we're pretty vague on what that means. Would you walk us through what the actual arguments are?
Sure. So the prior lawsuit really involved that discrete issue over the Florida Sunshine Law. But this lawsuit involves the entire gift or donation to the president and his family. So it starts with the emoluments clause. And emolument is not the most common word, but it was much more commonly used back when the founding fathers were around. And they were very principled and very concerned about corruption and tyranny. And one of the things they were principally concerned about was the president being personally enriched by gifts from states and foreign actors that would then be used to curry favor with the president. And that's why in our Constitution, not an amendment, not a case law, it's enshrined in the very Constitution that the founding fathers signed off on. It prohibits the president from accepting an emolument, a thing of value, a gift, a donation, because for their personal enrichment, because, again, it can be used to curry favor. So when we zoom out and we look at this entire deal, what happened? The Miami-Dade College Board of Trustees voted to give land that the college owned for its purposes to the state of Florida, which in turn then gifted that land to the president and his family through a nonprofit organization for which his son, Eric Trump, is one of the officers. His daughter, Tiffany's husband, Michael Boulos, is another one of the officers. Another developer that the president frequently works with, Steve Witkoff, he's another one of the officers. And they then started scouting out land. But I think what's critical here is that this land was never intended to be a library alone, because the reports have said, for instance, Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton, which is closer to the president's residence, they offered him a basically free 99-year lease to put his library there on that campus. But that wasn't good enough. This specific piece of land was chosen because it is prime land for a hotel. It is prime land for a hotel development, and it is always what they intended. This land bounds Biscayne Boulevard. It is right on our waterfront in the city of Miami. It is close to numerous 4- and 5-star hotels that are coming up around it, and the Miami World Center project, and it is the perfect quintessential place for a hotel.
And Steve Witkoff owns land. You could throw a rock from the presidential library proposed location next to the Freedom Tower to Whitcomb's land. So just so happens that he maneuvered the decision to have the Trump Library within a block or so of his own property. What will that do to Steve Whitcomb's property? How will his land increase if the president's library is built a block away?
Right. And I think that our plaintiffs here have suffered very particularized concrete harm as a result of this. Our plaintiffs include residents who live steps and blocks away from this property, whose rights to use and enjoy their property will be impacted by this hotel library project. We don't need to speculate. We can look to the area around Trump Tower in Manhattan. We can look to the area around Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach and how those areas have transformed into militarized, hyper-political zones. And these residents have had absolutely zero say because the Florida legislature has also passed a law that basically prohibits any county or municipality or locality from regulating this land just as they would do with any other. We also have Dr. Dunn and his farm, which have been integral to our downtown and Overtown community. And his discussions with MDC officials to put that urban farm there are absolutely circumvented by the Trumps coming in and taking advantage of a giveaway that's designed for their personal enrichment. Whilst this urban farm, which would have been located just blocks away from the college's Culinary Institute, it would have been a critical source of food for the community and a critical source of education for the community. It can no longer be located there. So we also have a student plaintiff as well who is attached to the farm and I think goes to classes on this campus and is very concerned about her campus. And her harm definitely derives from the farm and her inability to take classes and get an education there. But I think an important piece of this that we cannot forget are the students, the college, the residents, the community members, because they have been so gravely impacted. They will be so gravely impacted by a hotel and a library that's intended only for the president's profit and not intended to help the people of the community.
Exactly. Do you want to live in a building across the street from a Trump presidential library, given all that that's going to bring to your neighborhood, all that that's going to bring to your life? Who needs that? And why could it not have been placed at FAU, FIU, some other place? Shane is so right. This presidential library was always intended to be on downtown Miami land, and the fact that they're calling it a presidential library is coincidental. This is a hotel, a for-profit hotel that will bring millions of dollars to the Trump family. The least they could have offered was to share in the income for that hotel with Miami-Dade College going forward. They're going to make all that money for the Trump family. Why can't Miami-Dade College get a good piece of that money going forward?
Right.
So it's an insult to the community. It's a steal, and we're trying to stop it.
And an important component to that is that this land, observers believe it's worth north of $300 million. Just to put that into perspective, Miami-Dade College's entire endowment across multiple campuses in this county is about $220 million. So had the college actually been able to sell this to a developer, let's just say, they would have been able to double their endowment overnight, even if they used a portion of the parcel for Dr. Dunn's farm and sold the rest. They still could have helped the community instead of helping to enrich the president. And one more thing I think that is really critical to understand is that President Trump and his family, they're operating through this conduit, this nonprofit organization that they're using, but they have benefited from that structure, and that in of itself constitutes an emolument. Here's why. The Waldorf Astoria is building a big hotel right in downtown Miami, and I'm sure those developers are kicking themselves knowing that they have to pay carrying costs every single day for that property while it's under development, that they have to pay property tax taxes for that property while it's under development, as any other for-profit developer developing a hotel would have to do. But guess what? The Trumps don't have to pay anything. They now own this land through a nonprofit foundation. They don't have to pay any property taxes to the state. They don't have the same carrying costs. They're not subject to the significant review process that the county and the city of Miami would engage in with any other building. They are effectively given special preferential treatment by virtue of this donation. And that in of itself is an emolument. It is a thing of value given to the president and his family for their benefit.
Right. And Nancy, may I just add, I know you have other questions, but I would be upset if Obama did this.
Right.
I can't imagine him doing it, or any president. So I don't like Trump politically. I don't like his policies, but that's not my reason or my main reason for opposing this. No president, including Democrats, should do what this man is doing to this community, taking land that belongs to our kids and using it for personal profit.
I am wondering, and your explanation actually brought up an interesting point that I had not considered, namely the unfair competition aspect. Have any of the surrounding businesses, apart from the farm, approach to other developers or owners of property in the area that would be able to develop that property to join the suit?
I'll say this, and I myself am a city of Miami resident, and we have a lot of great business people in our city who I think want to move our city forward. But I think a lot of people are very hesitant to come forward and perhaps say what they feel and to exercise their rights, although they feel like something unfair is happening, because of the present climate that we live in. Mm-hmm. And I echo Dr. Dunn's remarks completely when we say that this is not political. This is not about politics. This is about the Constitution of the United States. And it is why I commend our brave plaintiffs for stepping up. I do think that this is unfair to other people trying to do business in the city of Miami and here in Dade County. I think it is incredibly unfair. But again, in our economic and political climate, I do believe that there are some who maybe do not want to take a stand on this issue because they fear what may happen in response or the backlash that they might get politically. Although, again, it's not a political issue.
And not just business people are intimidated by what's going on and are afraid to come forward. Academics, friends of mine I've known for 30 years or more, are terrified at the prospects of where we're going as a country in terms of academic freedom. So it's a chilling effect across this community. Folks who would like to speak up, would like to stand up against what's happening, have good reason to be hesitant. But I think we're going to proceed. I think the community is behind us. There was a survey done some weeks ago that showed that over 70% of the people in Miami-Dade County did not want that land given away. 59% of Republicans did not want the land to be given away. They didn't mind the library, but did not want the land to be given away. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to stop has, I think, the broad support of the community, saying at least giving the land away is wrong.
So that brings me to the question of remedy, because when you bring a suit, and it is indeed a civil suit, generally you ask for relief.
Right.
What particular relief are you asking for?
Sure. So we believe that the entire gift is unlawful. It is unconstitutional under the Emoluments Clause. And the specific relief that we're seeking is to, in essence, rescind or reverse that gift because it wasn't proper to begin with and it should not have happened. But I think it's important to clarify that some might believe that the defendants can rectify this situation by maybe endowing a scholarship for a few students at Miami-Dade College or opening a center at the hotel.
Nope.
But that is not true because the emolument has already been in place. That unlawful gift has already been given. And the president and his family, again, have already personally enriched from this by not having to pay any property taxes, by not having to go through any review process. And that entire gift needs to be reversed. That is really what we think would be the appropriate relief to remedy the harm that I think our plaintiffs have suffered, the particularized harm they've suffered as residents, as local people running nonprofits, as students. That is the appropriate remedy, is to dial it back and reverse what has occurred.
I'm so glad Shane described that in the way that he did. Throwing a few peanuts at us, a few internships for students or a little room someplace in a hotel for students to do research, that's not going to get it. The whole thing needs to be rescinded, and Miami-Dade College should have that land back. That's the solution.
So this has been filed in federal court, the second district.
The Southern District of
Southern
Florida.
District, not the second district. Misspoke there. Southern District.
There are too many districts.
Oh, right. When I looked online, I did not see that it had been assigned yet. What is the expected timetable for action to take place on this?
Sure. So the case has actually now been assigned.
Oh.
It's now been assigned to Judge Ruiz here in the Southern District of Florida. I clerked for a judge on this court. I have great respect, as I know Dr. Dunn does as well, for the judges in the Southern District of Florida. I think that they are fair. I think that they are reasoned, and I think that they move cases forward at a reasonable pace. We've now served all of the defendants in the case, and they now have an opportunity to provide their response to the complaint. So, we look forward to this. We've always viewed this as a fight because, again, there are defendants here that are, very powerful, the President of the United States and the state of Florida. But that has not been a deterrent to us because we have something that is even more powerful than that governs all of us, which is our Constitution. So they'll have an opportunity to respond. We'll move forward, hopefully, into discovery, and the case will proceed. But for now, they have an opportunity to respond as they should. And look, I think that at the end of the day, we want what's right for our clients to ensure that the harm that they've suffered can be remedied. We want what's right for the community. And with those pillars, we know that we are in the right fight for our Constitution and for our community.
So do you anticipate that discovery may lead you into potential correspondence or conversations about how all of this came about?
When I go into discovery in any case, I oftentimes don't have any expectations. You never know what you will see. But if the Trumps corresponded with one another about this, if it is relevant, if it is discoverable, and if it goes through the right procedures, then certainly I could imagine that it would be part of the litigation. But again, that is oftentimes how a party in discovery sort of discovers the truth of what is going on. Although we have very substantive factual allegations that are very well supported in our complaint, discovery is an avenue towards further confirming the factual allegations in a suit. So anything can happen in discovery, but if there was, relevant correspondence, I imagine it would be part of the suit, assuming that it is discoverable.
Right.
And I'm curious to know, and Shane may be able to tell us yes or no, but the president may have to sit for deposition. He may have to sit and answer questions from our lawyers about how this happened at some point. He is the defendant, and he can't send a substitute forever to respond to this lawsuit.
Yeah. And what I'll say about the president is this, we have great respect for the office of the presidency. And the president has a job to do on a daily basis. We understand that. But he has said to the American people on TV that this property would include a hotel.
Mhm.
I'm not paraphrasing. I'm not, speculating. That is what he has said on video. So it definitely raises questions about the president's involvement in this, and how the president has been involved in, I think, the deal that they negotiated with the state of Florida to get this land for free.
So a little earlier, you referred to a somewhat hostile climate that has evolved out of this. And I know, for example, that there was a move by Miami-Dade College to disqualify the state court judge, Judge Ruiz. And I assume this is a different Ruiz.
Yes, so it's
Yes.
different court, different judge.
Right.
Yeah.
Judge Mavel Ruiz, from any further involvement in the case. I've read the newspaper articles, a number of sources describing the case through its various the prior case and the current case. To read the comments is to hope to take a shower afterwards. They're pretty toxic. So there has been a rather attenuated atmosphere around this. At the same time, I would suspect, Professor Dunn, that you've gotten a good deal of community support. And apart from the poll that you referenced earlier, I am wondering what indications of support that you have received, and if anyone were to be so inclined, what further ways would there be to support this cause?
Thank you, Nancy, for asking. I established reluctantly a GoFundMe page to assist with the expenses related to the first case and also for the second case. Even though the attorneys are working for free, there are expenses that have to be paid. President Trump is not going to come to Miami to be deposed. Neither is Governor DeSantis. We have to go to them. So all kinds of costs are associated with these proceedings, and we've raised about $85,000 through the GoFundMe page to support us in this effort. But we need more. This case is going to go a long ways. It's going to take a long time to get there. So if people want to help, they should go to the Dr. Marvin Dunn GoFundMe page and give us assistance, because we're going to need it going forward. Thank you for asking that question.
Are you in search of additional plaintiffs?
I think that is always an option, but when you file a lawsuit, you file them with the plaintiffs you have.
Right.
And we feel confident about the case that we have with the plaintiffs we have, and the harm that they've suffered. But I did just want to pick up on something that you said before, and I have great respect for the judiciary. I think clerking for a judge was one of the great privileges that I've had so far in my career. And, I think that no matter the decision or no matter how this comes out or, whatever the situation or the issue, I think that it's important that we respect members of the judiciary. And I think we respect the job that they do. I think it is an important pillar of our Constitution. So just as we stand here, ready to defend our Constitution in this way, as it pertains to the Emoluments Clause, I think it's important that we all do that with respect to, all of our judges at any level. So, I think that we have to keep the conversation civil, even as we, do believe that something wrong here has occurred and seek to aggrieve it. But I think it's important that we just as much respect our Constitution in the conversations about it. So I really hope that people can understand that. I know that might be a lot to ask in this climate, but I think that it's important.
And I totally agree. My hope is with the courts. I believe the courts are going to do the right thing. I don't accept the premise that the courts are corrupted, that we can't expect justice. I believe that we will be treated fairly in this effort, and I trust the courts to deliver fair decisions.
That is wonderful, and I think if you polled the population of Miami-Dade County as well, that would be their fervent
absolutely
feeling as well, that
absolutely
they would expect justice to be done.
Yes.
So, anything else to add with respect to this particular case, or the Miami-Dade College, or the prospective garden?
No, just to the community. We are in this for the long haul. Stay with us, support us, and we think we can stop this thing from happening.
Okay.
And I just want to say how much of it an honor it really is to sit next to Dr. Dunn. I cannot underscore how important he is to our community and the things that he's done for our community. And I don't believe that I would be able to sit next to him as his attorney without the incredible work that he has done for Dade County. So I just want to offer that, because he is an extraordinary individual. It is an honor. I think I speak for my colleagues, Jerry and Dan in the Constitutional Accountability Center, when I say, it is an absolute honor every day to represent Dr. Dunn.
Thank you.
And it is my honor to sit with you both and to have had such an interesting discussion. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Nancy.